The one thing that I've heard over and over again are the constant complaints by people who don't want to or just can't PVM and EOC effectively. This limits their ability to PVM and to an extent their ability to enjoy the game. So what if you could kill everything in the game with the old pre-EOC system? Welcome back. On screen you can find an overview of this guide. If you're new to my videos, you can find timestamps for everything that I'll talk about in the description box below. Let's get started. If you haven't played Runescape in a long time, there's a good chance that it's probably due to the evolution of combat. In 2012, Jagex attempted to modernize their game by doing a complete overhaul of combat. This update increased health pools and damage and created a slew of abilities that were queued on an ability bar. There have been numerous balancing changes to combat since 2012, but as it stands you pretty much have the option of playing in the pre-EOC legacy mode, which mirrors old school RS combat, or you can use EOC actively or passively. In making this video, I wanted to take an honest look at the viability of using the legacy option. Before we delve into the test, there are two big things that you need to know. First, the majority of the bosses in the game since 2012 were designed with EOC in mind, so if you choose to use legacy, you are going to need to get creative. Second, a standard metric that is used at higher level PVM is DPM, which stands for damage per minute. 150k DPM is a metric for top end PVM, but you can still get kills on any boss with around 100k DPM. As a reference, my range test on Legacy was 108k DPM. First up, we have Nex, and this is a boss that an experienced person won't have trouble killing on Legacy. Besides the fact that you can get somewhat unlucky, I find soloing this on Legacy to be way easier than EOC once you understand the boss mechanics. This is a boss that two inexperienced people could face roll through as long as they have a tier 90 shield for prisms. Raids are also super easy. You could fulfill an NC roll with Chinchampas or Ancient Magics, and you can also pet tank without too many issues as long as you have a tier 90 shield. QBD is pretty enjoyable to do on Legacy and your kill times aren't going to be too bad. The only issue is going to be moving to the pillars and or the firewalls if you don't have super anti-fire pots. Other than that, the boss damage is pretty manageable and the ads are easy to deal with on Legacy. Rax is by far my favorite boss to do and one of the easiest in this test on Legacy mode. Just for context, I have around 500 Rax kills right now, so I have a decent idea for how this boss feels. There's something about using dual range here that just seems to tear through the boss. I will say that while your speeds on EOC can definitely no doubt beat Legacy, there's no way you can AFK as much as you can when you're doing this on Legacy and get decent kill times. Doing this on Legacy just takes out so many things that you need to worry about, and I'm sure anybody that was comfortable with killing Jad back in 2010 can easily handle doing Rax for the first time on Legacy. From here we can move on to God Wars 2, and I'm going to be grouping Vindicta, Twin Furies, and Greg together because they are all equally a joke to deal with. I will say again that your kill times aren't going to be great, but killing these is super easy and fun to do on Legacy. Hellweir was the only one of the bosses that I had a little bit of trouble with, and that's because you're going to be constantly taking damage from the bleed during this fight. It's not a difficult boss, but it definitely feels like a buffet on Legacy. One piece of advice that I'd give you if you're going to try this is to bring a spirit shield and switch to it right before you take a massive hit. This will prolong your trips. The most difficult boss that I tried to do on Legacy was Telos, and this is a boss that I absolutely wouldn't recommend you to do on Legacy. To kill this boss, you are going to need to deliver food directly into your mouth during the whole kill. My advice for this boss is similar to what I said about Hellweir. You're going to want to bring a spirit shield that you can switch to on all of the big attacks that can hit up to 70% of your health bar. Other than that, bring chins for P4. And finally, for some recent content, ED2 is super easy to solo, but Celestial Dragons are pretty difficult to kill. If you can duo or trio, this will be a breeze. And that's basically the end of my tests. Hopefully this proves that you don't need EOC to enjoy high-level PVM in RuneScape 3. If you've never done so, check out some of these for yourself on Legacy and let me know how you do. If you're ready to take the plunge into EOC, these revolution bars should tide you over. There's a few other abilities that you can unlock and some other things that I have on secondary bars, but this is a good starter. If you're interested in using Revolution, there are a few settings that will make it a little bit easier for you to PVM. If you go into the gameplay settings and then into action bars, you can find different settings for equipping different action bars depending on the weapons that you're using. As you can see on screen, my first action bar is for melee two-handed weapons, my second bar is for ranged dual wield, and my third is for magic dual wield. I have a couple more bars enabled on my screen, and if you're interested in why I have those set up, you can follow the video linked in the top right hand corner of your screen to go to an intro to PvM video. If you want to AFK with Revolution, there's a new combat mode called Revolution++. There are a variety of bars available for this, but you can generate one yourself very easily by clicking on the gear icon on your action bar and then clicking Setup. After this, make sure that you've enabled Revolution inside your combat mode settings and then set your Revolution bar size to encompass all of your abilities. From here, go down and make sure that you've activated automatically triggered basic, threshold, and automatic abilities. For a little bit of context, the ability bar given to me from the setup option gave me 130k DPM. The final thing that I want to touch on dealing with combat is the full manual mode. On the chance that you enjoy queuing your own abilities in combat, this mode gives you the best control over your character. It takes a lot of practice to become good at full manual, so my tips are to at first take it slowly. You can use the Combat Academy dummies to work on your rotation, and you can do research on popular rotations for other bosses that you are working on. For example, there are really strong rotations for ranging necks, and there are rotations for mage on Telos and AOD. Now let's go over the next biggest change to the game, which is the interface. There are so many customization options available to you, but I'm going to go over the settings that would turn the game into something that you would recognize. Press Escape and then go down to Miscellaneous. Here you can enable a few things. First, let's take a look at the Legacy skin. This will keep the modern interface but replace all of the background textures with the old ones. You can take this a step further and enable the Legacy skin, which will bring back the game very close to how it looked in the RS HD update days. Finally, you can go into your graphics settings and enable the fixed window option, along with lowering your graphics settings. You could then enable Legacy mode, and you would have the closest thing to pre-EOC that you can get on RuneScape 3. If you want to use the new interface, you can go through several preset loadouts by pressing Escape. If you want some help making your own interface, feel free to click the card in the top right hand corner of your screen to go to my Intro to RS3 PvM video where I demonstrate how to customize an interface. Now let's talk about some of the biggest changes to the game in the last couple of years. We've had two new skills added to the game since 2012, and those are Divination and Invention. Divination is a gathering skill where you collect energy from the world and use it to transmute items. If you want some help training this skill, you can click my guide in the top right hand corner of your screen. After this we have Invention, and this is an elite skill that requires you to have 80 Divination, Crafting, and Smithing. It serves the purpose of an item sink for the game, and it provides the biggest benefits to skilling in PvM in the entire game. You can create gizmos that boost damage, increase efficiency of weapons and tools, and create machines that make planks or high alch items. There have been a variety of new training methods added to the game, but these are some of my favorite. For fishing, we have the new fishing hub called Deep Sea Fishing. You can find a guide for this by clicking on the card in the top corner of your screen. For thieving, we have the AFK Safe Cracking. For rune crafting, we have Runespan. For farming, we have the recently released Player-Owned Farms, which you can also find a guide for by clicking on the card on your screen. And for divination, we have the Hall of Memories. If you enjoy questing or RuneScape lore, these are a selection of my favorite quests. Broken Home is a very interesting, repeatable quest that gives you a very good ring for completing challenges post-quest. Sliske's Endgame, The World Wakes, The Brink of Extinction, The Mighty Fall, Pieces of Hate, and River of Blood are all fairly long quests that have a decent storyline. Plague's End is arguably the most useful quest on this list because it gives you access to the huge central hub in the game, Prif Dinis. If you're really put off by Treasure Hunter and other microtransaction aspects of RuneScape 3, you can create an Iron Man or Hardcore Iron Man on the character creation screen. These game modes provide the purest and most challenging game mode available on RuneScape 3. The Iron Man community on RuneScape 3 is very strong and super helpful, so you won't be left in the dark if you decide to go this route. I've linked a very popular level 3 to Trim Completionist cape guide in the description box below that you can follow if you decide to make one of these characters. For the last part of this video, we're going to go over some of the top quality of life improvements to the game in the last few years. First up, we have bank presets, and these make skilling in PvM super easy and convenient. You don't need to remember what specific items you need for a given task, just simply create the loadout that you need and you're good to go. Clans have also received a super good upgrade in that you can now have a personal 6% XP boost for just being in a clan and capping once a week for about 5 minutes worth of your time. Lodestones are a very useful teleport option that when unlocked will allow you to traverse the entire map with ease, making skilling and questing super easy. cape perks are a recent addition to the game, and each of the 99 and a few of the master skill capes have very nice upgrades to them that make them super useful to use. Dying and losing all of your stuff is no longer an issue with Death's Office. When you die now outside of dangerous activities, you merely have to pay a small percentage of the item's value to claim it without having to visit a grave. If you're watching this video at the time when there is a seasonal event happening, these are perfect opportunities to get back in the game while being able to interact with the community. These events typically allow you to train a variety of skills for free at decent XP rates. And finally, the new grouping system has made it very easy to organize and recruit people for a variety of activities in the game. Just gather your friends together and finish the group and you'll be teleported near the starting location. And if this helped you, please leave a like and comment below. If there's something that you want me to talk about that I didn't cover in this video, drop a suggestion, I'll be sure to work it into a future video. Until next time, Taki out. Early bird bonus, if you're the first person to hear this message, please comment pineapple pizza in the comments below and I'll make sure to give you a bond.